English football punditry has been under increasing scrutiny in recent years, and fans are starting to voice their frustrations louder than ever. The recent resignation of Rio Ferdinand from TNT Sports has only intensified the debate. While some may attribute his departure to personal reasons, it's hard to ignore the wider context. Pundits in England are losing the trust and the attention of football fans. Ferdinand, a Manchester United legend, has often been criticised for letting club loyalty bleed into his commentary. Whether defending United's underperforming players or taking veiled digs at rival clubs, fans frequently call out the lack of neutrality. Add to that his off-field brand work and occasional controversial takes on social media, and it's clear why some see him as more of a media figure than a genuine football analyst. But Ferdinand isn't alone. Michael Owen, once one of England's most exciting strikers, has long been the subject of online ridicule for his dry delivery and perceived lack of insight. His commentary is often described as stating the obvious, leading fans to tune out rather than engage. Then there's Gary Neville. While widely respected for his tactical knowledge, Neville's punditry can be polarising. His strong Manchester United bias, particularly during moments of crisis at the club, has led to accusations of hypocrisy, especially when comparing his leniency towards United managers versus his harsh criticism of others, like Mikel Arteta, in the past. So what's going on? For many fans, modern punditry in England feels stale, biased and out of touch. Instead of insightful, balanced analysis, we often get recycled talking points, personal agendas or defensive posturing when friends and former teammates are being discussed. In an age where fans have access to detailed tactical breakdowns, data-driven podcasts and international commentary teams, the bar has been raised and traditional TV punditry is falling behind. Many fans now prefer turning to YouTube channels, fan-led podcasts or even foreign broadcasts to get a more nuanced, passionate and less filtered view of the game. Ultimately, the decline in faith towards English football pundits reflect a broader shift. Fans no longer just want famous ex-players with big opinions, they want fairness, fresh perspectives and honest, intelligent discussion. And until TV broadcasters catch up, more viewers will continue reaching for the remote when familiar faces appear in the studio. So, let's talk about why life must surely suck to be an English football pundit. When you think of Rio Ferdinand the footballer, you may think of elegance. A Rolls Royce of a defender, Champions League winner, 6-time Premier League champion and one of England's finest centre-backs of his generation. But when Rio swapped his boots for a microphone, something didn't quite translate. As mentioned in the intro, Ferdinand recently parted ways with TNT Sports, formerly BT Sports, and while it's tempting to look back with warmth at his contributions as a footballing icon, the general reception to his punditry has been less than glowing. And here's the thing, no one wants to see someone fail at something they clearly care about. But we also can't ignore the glaring issues that plagued his time on our screens. Rio often felt more like a fan with a backstage pass than an insightful analyst. Too many of his contributions leaned to cliché, banter, and a sort of emotional punditry that lacked tactical depth or critical thought. For someone with his elite playing experience, it was frustrating to hear surface-level takes that wouldn't sound out of place down the pub on a Sunday. And let's talk about bias. Rio's punditry was often clouded by allegiances. His commentary on Manchester United in particular wavered between blind loyalty and reactionary hot takes. Looking at the recent Europa League semi-final match against Lyon, broadcasters took aim at Rio Ferdinand for his MUTV style reaction to a football game when they achieved solidifying their place in the final. But perhaps the most damning critique is how often he fell into the trap for over-sensationalism. The job of a pundit is to add context, not chaos. Yet, Rio frequently chased viral moments, throwing out controversial sound bites with little analytical weight behind them. His infamous Ollie's at the wheel moment, while passionate, aged terribly and came to symbolise the cheerleader-style punditry many fans have grown tired of. And just when you thought things couldn't get worse, Rio posted a video chanting Gala, a tone-deaf moment considering the tragic history between Galatasaray and Leeds, which rightfully sparked outrage among Leeds fans who expected better judgment. There's also the issue of chemistry. Punditry is about conversation, debate, pushing back with insight, not just nodding along or repeating tired phrases. Too often, Rio would dominate or derail discussions with anecdotal fluff rather than elevating the analysis. Now, to be clear, this isn't about personal attacks. Rio is clearly passionate, and you can get the sense he genuinely loves the game. But passion without precision just doesn't cut it anymore. Fans today are smarter, more tactically aware, and they demand more from those paid handsomely to break the game down. In the end, Rio Ferdinand's punditry career serves as a cautionary tale. Great players don't automatically make great pundits, and when the game evolves, the analysis has to evolve with it. Unfortunately, Rio never quite made that leap. In the world of punditry, you're either too safe, too biased, too obvious, or in some cases, too controversial for your own good. Take Jermaine Jenas for example. Once a tidy midfielder for Spurs and England, Jenas transitioned smoothly into punditry. He had the charm, the polished delivery, and enough footballing credentials to earn a spot on the BBC's biggest stages. But things unravelled quickly. In August 2024, Jenas was dismissed by the BBC with immediate effect following complaints about inappropriate messages sent to colleagues. His talent agency, MNC Saatchi Merlin, dropped him shortly afterward. It wasn't just a career bump, it was a full stop. Another pundit shown the door, not for bad analysis or poor football takes, but for conduct behind the scenes. But this wasn't Jenas' first brush with controversy. In September 2023, he took to Twitter after a Premier League match and called referee Robert Jones a complete shithouse. He then doubled down, saying referees were ruining football. Unsurprisingly, a refereeing charity challenged him. He apologised, but the tweet had already made the rounds, and in punditry, where credibility is your currency, that sort of outburst doesn't go unnoticed. As previously mentioned, the truth is, English punditry is under constant scrutiny. Viewers want tactical insight, fresh perspectives, and engaging conversation. But at the same time, every word is watched, every tweet dissected, every opinion a potential landmine. Jermaine Jenas found that out the hard way of being a face for the television, that it is a great responsibility to conduct yourself in the highest regard, both on and away from the camera lens. Decent footballer? No doubt. Confident presenter? Absolutely. But the tightrope of modern punditry is unforgiving. You're expected to speak freely, but never stray. Be bold, but never brash. One misstep and you're gone. Jenas isn't the first pundit to face the fallout, and he surely won't be the last. In the high-pressure, hypercritical world of football punditry, sometimes it feels like the easiest way to survive is to say or do nothing at all. Now let's talk about Michael Owen, former Ballon d'Or winner, prolific striker, and quite possibly one of the most uninspiring pundits to ever sit in the studio. Ask any football fan what they think of Michael Owen on commentary, and you'll likely be met with a deep sigh or a sarcastic impersonation of his painfully obvious observations. Owen has built a bit of a reputation. No, scratch that. A meme status for his ability to take the most basic, surface level facts about football and deliver them with the seriousness of a tactical masterclass. You know you're in for a ride when he starts a sentence with, "You have to score more goals than the other team to win the game." Thanks, Michael. Mind-blowing stuff. He once said, "Whichever team scores more goals usually wins." That's not analysis. That's year 2 math. In another gem, he stated, "If there's a bit of rain about, it makes the surface wet." Honestly, it's like listening to a weather report for toddlers. And it doesn't stop there. That shot had some power behind it, after a thunderbolt goal from 30 yards. Do you think? Fans often accuse Owen of sucking the life out of games with his flat delivery and robotic tone. It's not just what he says, it's how he says it. He can describe a last-minute winner in a cup final with the same emotional energy as reading out a bus timetable. And what makes it worse is that Owen was a world-class striker. You'd expect some deeper insights, maybe a few stories of his time at Liverpool or Real Madrid. Instead, we get sound bites that wouldn't look out of place in a Football for Dummies book. So, when Michael Owen is announced as part of the Punditry team, fans aren't excited. They're bracing themselves. Because when it comes to stating the obvious, nobody does it quite like Mr. Owen. Now let's flip the script a bit. We've had our fun dragging the pundits who've made us cringe, yawn or scream at the TV, but credit where credit's due. Not all English football pundits are lost in the sauce. Some genuinely elevate the game with their presence, and among them, 3 names stand out for me personally. Stephen Warnock, Sue Smith and Hugh Woozencroft. Let's start with Stephen Warnock. Former Liverpool and Aston Villa fullback, Warnock has carved a niche for himself in the world of punditry. Quietly, but effectively. He's not there for the sound bites. He's not trying to be edgy. What he brings is calm, collected and well-researched insight. On Sky Sports and the EFL highlight show, Warnock consistently shows that he's actually watched the games he's talking about. A surprisingly rare trait. He's especially good at breaking down defensive structure, explaining player decisions and giving tactical insight that actually makes you feel smarter after watching. And let's be honest, the EFL doesn't get the glamorous coverage the Premier League does, so having someone like Warnock who takes it seriously, that matters. Now on to Sue Smith, a true breath of fresh air. Former England international with over 90 caps, she's been one of the most reliable and relatable voices in football media. Whether she's analysing Women's Super League games or working on the EFL highlights, Sue brings both joy and depth. She doesn't patronise the viewer, her knowledge of the lower league is second to none, and she brings genuine enthusiasm without dipping into cliché. She also balances the fine line of being personable while not being afraid to call out a poor performance or bad managerial decision. And let's give her extra flowers for being one of the few female pundits who's managed to cut through the old boys club and do it with class. No gimmicks, just football knowledge, passion and professionalism. And finally, Hugh Woozencroft, the host with the poise, the brain and the voice that can narrate a Champions League final. As a presenter and journalist, Hugh's real strength is his ability to guide a conversation. He's not a former pro, but he doesn't pretend to be one. What he does bring is clarity, fairness and balance. He asks the right questions, steers the debate without letting them spiral into shouting matches, and holds guests to account when needed. Whether on Times Radio and Talksport, he carries himself with class and isn't afraid to push against lazy narratives. In a world where some pundits rely on loud opinions with little depth, Hugh brings genuine journalism and control to the table. These three, Warnock, Smith and Woozencroft, show us that football punditry doesn't have to be a punchline. They prove that if you care about the game, do your homework and speak to the fans with honesty, you can actually make the viewer want to listen. Imagine that. And there we have it. A look into the strange, frustrating and sometimes downright baffling world of English football punditry. From Rio Ferdinand's unapologetically biased takes that feel like they were lifted straight from the Manchester United group chat, to Jermaine Jenas navigating controversy and Twitter backlash with every other word, and Michael Owen's robotic, joyless delivery of the game we all love. It's easy to see why some fans have fallen out of love with the faces they see on their screens every weekend. But to be clear, not all English pundits fall into the same tired tropes. There are voices that bring insight, balance and genuine warmth to football coverage. Stephen Warnock's calm, considered analysis feels like a breath of fresh air. Sue Smith's infectious enthusiasm and sharp observations light up any studio she's in. And while Hugh Woozencroft may operate more in the presenter lane, his football commentary, particularly on podcasts, is grounded, informed and actually enjoyable to listen to. So, does life suck as an English football pundit? Maybe. The spotlight is brutal. Every word is scrutinised. Social media never sleeps. But when you strip it all back, many of the pundits who face criticism aren't just victims of circumstance, they're the architects of their own backlash. Whether it's through lazy analysis, club bias, or a reluctance to evolve with the modern game, some have simply not adapted to what football fans actually want today. Honesty, insight, and respect for the intelligence of the audience. There's a lesson in all this. Maybe being a former professional footballer shouldn't automatically qualify you for a punditry gig. Maybe it's time we look at punditry not just as a reward for a solid playing career, but as a craft. One that requires communication skills, humility, and a willingness to connect with the game as it is now, not as it was in your prime. So yes, life can suck as a pundit, but for some of them, they've kind of brought it on themselves. I want to thank you if you've made it this far into my video. I'd really appreciate a like, a comment, and even if you subscribe to my channel, as there's more to come. So as always, I will see you soon.